Hare Krishna, Visvakarma Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble
Jai.
obeisance.
So we're discussing this wonderful letter to Rupanuga Prabhu. Rupanuga Prabhu joined Srila Prabhupada about 1966, I think. He was one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And Visvakarma Prabhu also, he was the temple president of the Toronto temple. He also acquired the Toronto temple. And Srila Prabhupada has written wonderful letters to him about how he wanted the society to be managed. And in one of these letters, Visvakarma Prabhu will talk about a very important, what would you call this, Prabhu? Very important point, Siddhanta.
Yes.
And then I will ask him some questions. So let's do it, Prabhu. Let's go for it.
Prabhu, first I wanted to mention that Rupanuga Prabhu was in Buffalo.
Yes.
He had decided to go from New York to Buffalo to open a preaching center there. They had a house. And subsequently, he took Sankirtan parties and brought one to Hamilton in 1969.
Wow.
On King Street, downtown, where all of us used to go and hang out. You know, I was a famous local musician at the time. We were named the #1 musical group in Hamilton in the newspaper. And we were signed to book play with the Cream, which was a popular group back then, and Steve Miller, and we played with all different types of bands, and we're signed to Liberty Records in England. So I was pretty much interested in music only, and I saw the devotees on the street, and I do specifically, I can see it in my mind's eye, Rupanuga Prabhu chanting on the streets with the devotees from Buffalo. There were a lot of prominent devotees that came from Buffalo. For example, Bhagavan was from Buffalo. Jagadish was from Buffalo. And Tejas, I believe it was Tejas, and a lot of other, Gunagrahi.
Oh,
the
wow.
temple was rather successful, and it was shut down, unfortunately, due to the poor management of Kirtananda from West Virginia, who was on a campaign to close the other centers and have everybody focus only on his center. In Toronto, we were also the victims of his confusion, let's say, deviation. So today, this letter was sent from Prabhupada to Rupanuga. It's a rather long letter, so I'm going to focus on the discussion of the Gaudiya Mat and how we should, as Prabhupada disciples, see them. And this letter has somewhat been obscured from the public. And I thought I'd go directly to it and read it to all of us, just so we can get an understanding of how Prabhupada wanted us to deal with his God brothers and as his disciples. So, quote, Srila Prabhupada, "You are right about Sridhar Maharaj's genuineness. But in my opinion, he is the best of the lot." This is a very strong statement because there were a lot of members of the Gaudiya Mat, but Prabhupada, as a Vaishnava, didn't see that they were doing much in terms of fulfilling the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. "He is my old friend. At least he executes the regulated principles of devotional service. At least he executes the regulated principles of devotional service. I do not want to discuss about activities of my God brothers." So Prabhupada's showing some etiquette here. But he wants to tell us how we should conduct ourselves. But it is a fact, they have no life for preaching work. All are satisfied with a place of residence. In the name of a temple, they engage disciples to get foodstuff by transcendental service and eat and sleep.
It's saying devices, transcendental devices.
Yeah, transcendental devices and eat and sleep. That's very interesting, these words. In other words, they're using the cloak of Krishna consciousness to cover over their motivation. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So this is, Prabhupada refers to this in his books as the guru business.
Mm.
So they get some kind of donation from their disciple, Dakshina, and they have a place to stay, good accommodation. They don't have to work, but they're living off the benefits of the guru business. So further, they have no idea or brain how to broadcast the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My Guru Maharaj used to lament many times for this reason, and he thought if one man at least had understood the principle of preaching, then his mission would achieve success. So Prabhupada, for all of us, was that man, or is that man that has understood the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And by his preaching work, he spread the Sankirtan movement all throughout the globe.
Right.
So this is the proof. I met Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, who was a great chanter in the Gaudiya Math. He was a friend of mine, and I had a personal darshan with him and Prabhupada in 1976.
Wow.
Where we sat in Prabhupada's room in Mayapur. Prabhupada wanted me to explain to Krishna Das Babaji how we purchased the Toronto temple from the Christian missionary group who said they'd rather burn it down than sell it to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. That's another story for another time. In the latter days of my Guru Maharaj, he was very disgusted. Actually, he left this world earlier. Otherwise, he would have continued to live for more years. Still, he requested his disciples to form a strong governing body for preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada also formed the GBC for the same reason, following in the footsteps of his guru.
One quick point. Prabhupada did form the GBC, and he also wrote the direction of management, how the GBC should function. But what they use as GBC right now is totally opposite of how Prabhupada had envisioned and wanted the GBC to function. So yes, in the present day ISKCON, they use the word GBC, but it's not actually GBC. It's like a fake imposter club, and you ain't part of it, So this is actually not the GBC that we're referring to, the ISKCON present day GBC.
Yes, in a future broadcast, we'll read from the directions that Prabhupada methodically wrote out for us on how to carry on his mission in terms of GBC body and temple presidents and the management of the membership.
Right.
The people that are part of the movement and a very important part of the movement. Currently, the GBC runs in a position of absolute infallible, like the Pope, the infallible Pope. But in fact, based on their results, they've shown many deviations and many mistakes, mainly because Prabhu, they don't really have a comprehensive understanding of what Prabhupada wanted in his Vani incarnation, which he left in a rather prolific manner in all his conversations, in all his books, in all his letters. And this letter is one that has been hidden from the vision of our eyes. But it's important to know this because some of the God brothers and God sisters have gone away from Prabhupada's direction and joined the Gaudiya Math and
Yes.
become part of that group.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they start to say that Prabhupada never gave the total picture of Krishna consciousness. And it's contained in the association of these Gaudiya Math members, like Sridhar. Actually, there was a devotee, Jagat Guru Swami. He was saying, oh, I saw a video of him. He said, oh, Prabhupada gave the Gita, but I want the GBC to see the Gita from Sridhar Swami because it gives a deeper understanding of our philosophy. Completely offensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carrying on, he never recommended anyone to be Acharya of the Gaudiya Math. Similarly, Prabhupada never recommended anyone to be the Acharya of ISKCON, even though some people tried to make Kirtananda Acharya or someone else they thought was suitable to take that role. But none of them are in the Uttama Adhikari position. So it's not possible to be Acharya unless you're Uttama Adhikari. But Sridhar Maharaj is responsible for disobeying this order of Guru Maharaj. And he and others who are already dead unnecessarily thought that there must be one Acharya. Interesting. And very parallel is the situation in ISKCON where we have all these gurus, Jayapataka Swami, Gopal Krishna Swami, Radhanath Swami, like that, all trying to put themselves in the role of Acharya, at least even for their disciples. So it's become very sectarian, even within their organization.
Excellent, Prabhu. One quick point is that in Sacramento, we have different groups of different so-called gurus. They each, converse among themselves. They form a cult around each other. And that is why we can't grow the Krishna consciousness movement, because this guru cult, guru business, it covers up the intelligence of the disciples because, oh, it's my guru, your guru, so it's a pathetic situation.
Yeah, it's very sectarian.
Yeah.
It's very sectarian. And this is against the Vaishnava principle. This Prabhupada taught us this is a non-sectarian process.
Yes.
But then you have these groups like Jayapataka group, where you have all these disciples, like 50,000 of them. And in Gopal Krishna, maybe 10,000, and Radhanath, so many thousands. So on the basis of corporate expansion and misunderstanding of Prabhupada's direction, the movement has deteriorated into a cultish environment. If Guru Maharaj could have seen someone who was qualified at the time to be Acharya, he would have mentioned. Because on the night he passed away, he talked so many things, but he never mentioned an Acharya. So the same way, Prabhupada never gave a clear authorized Acharya position to anyone. In fact, he sent a letter through Tamal Krishna, which said that he would put people in charge of Ritvik initiation, which means initiation on behalf of him. And if they had followed this position and not hidden it up, even though Hansaduta and Tamal Krishna and Romeshwar all publicly proclaimed that it was this Acharya position that they were accepting was fraudulent, nonetheless, they still carried on with it. And so therefore you have...
One quick note, Prabhu, is when Prabhupada saying, Prabhupada used the word officiating Acharya, then Tamal Krishna said, is that Ritvik? Prabhupada said, yes. So the actual word Prabhupada was used was officiating Acharya. So the word Ritvik came out of Tamal Krishna's mouth, and Prabhupada just said yes.
Exactly. And really that is the proper understanding. Like a lot of people misunderstand our philosophy when they say that everyone should be guru. Prabhupada said we should all become guru. Of course, we should all be gurus. What does that mean? Siksha guru, that you're a teacher. You explain the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to others, and you direct them to the pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's the way it was when he was with us, and after he left in his Vani incarnation, he's still with all of us. So if we follow this principle, then the movement will endure. Otherwise, with these sectarian groups, it'll break down, unfortunately, and be finished in due course.
Srila Prabhupada gives a very good definition of guru. Guru means heavier in knowledge. So if someone who is heavier in knowledge than you, he's guru, but not a Diksha guru, So this knowledge is coming from a disciplic succession. No one can claim proprietorship of it, For me, I came in contact with Krishna consciousness and I learned from Srila Prabhupada. So, it's not my knowledge. It's not ISKCON's knowledge. It's not these appointed gurus' knowledge. Is actually coming down in a disciplic succession. So no one can claim that this is my knowledge and lord it over anyone else.
This is a proper understanding. And this is the understanding that all the new people that are coming to Krishna consciousness should have. So they will not be disappointed, like in the case of Harikesh. He did a wonderful job spreading Krishna consciousness in Russia and the Baltics.
Yes.
But in the end, he fell down miserably, stole money, and now he lives in Florida somewhere as an unknown.
Yes.
So what happens to all these disciples? Many of them have left, been scattered, disappointed, and gave up Krishna consciousness because of his bad example. This is not fault finding. These are facts. People can deny them, but you cannot deny a fact of truth.
Yeah, it's traumatizing to surrender to someone and in a few years be disappointed. So it's a big crime if you really want to. It's much more than a crime, a spiritual crime, that you put your trust in someone and then he disappoints you, he leaves. It's just unfathomable.
His idea, continuing with the letter, his idea was Acharya was not to be nominated amongst the governing body. Here we go into another situation in ISKCON where the GBC are now electing people to represent Prabhupada as his successor. Now, someone could say, well, no one's accepting the position of Acharya. But the fact of the matter is, they're acting as such. Like Kirtananda acted that way. Bhavananda acted that way. Actually, when Bhavananda was challenged by Pradyumna and Yashodanandana about his guruship position, he said, we don't need you, just go away. We have our own disciples. So this was the basis on how this guru's business became popular. And when people in the mission opposed them, all they did was expand the guruship to include those who were most vocal. And in this way, they quelled the rebellion, let's say.
So basically, when people were protesting that Prabhupada never appointed you people as acharyas or gurus, these people who were protesting, they were given a license to become a guru, so they stopped protesting also.
Exactly.
This Giriraj was protesting. All these people were protesting. Shivram was protesting.
Rabindra Sarup, Romapad, all these so-called, renunciants. But at any rate, this, as Prabhupada would say, these things are going on.
Yes.
He said openly, you make a GBC and conduct a mission. So the mission is the focal point, not the guruship. So his idea was amongst the GBC, the members of GBC who would come out successful and self-effulgent, Acharya would be automatically selected.
Right.
Yes, through practical action, like Prabhupada's actions.
Yes.
He proved himself to be Acharya by his actions. Here in this case, out of the 11 gurus, Jayatirtha was killed by his disciple.
Yeah, beheaded.
Died in an unfortunate car accident.
Yeah.
So many different anomalies have arisen, but no explanation by the GBC members.
Yes.
Just cover up. So Sridhar Maharaj and his two associate gentlemen unorthodoxly selected one Acharya, and later it proved a failure. So here you can understand why Prabhupada is telling us that his friend is not to be trusted because of this action. The result is now everyone is claiming to be Acharya, even though they may be Kanishta Adhikari with no ability to preach. Again, here's the similar situation in ISKCON, where the devotees who are taking the position of Diksha Guru are not Uttama Adhikari in their behavior or in their realization. Just like Prabhupada, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, you can see that Prabhupada is not an ordinary conditioned soul.
Yeah.
You can see he's not a Kanishta Adhikari. You can hear it, that he is not a Madhyama Adhikari. You can hear that he's Uttama Adhikari. Only Prabhupada can reveal himself to such a devotee that constantly studies his tremendous books.
These things are not even talked about in the society. Who's Kanishta, who's Madhyam, who's Uttamadhikari, which is already very loud and clear in the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, where Srila Prabhupada says, Kanishta Adhikari and Madhyam Adhikari can initiate, provided the disciples are on the same level, and therefore the disciples won't be able to advance further than their guru because they're either Kanishta Adhikari or Madhyam Adhikari. Therefore, initiation must be accepted from an Uttama Adhikari. So there you go.
We'll continue on. In some of the camps, the Acharya is being changed 3 times a year. Yeah, this goes on in ISKCON. They're calling them initiating gurus. So Bhakti Vikas Swami, I watched a lecture of his. He said, yeah, if I fall down or if you don't want me as a guru, you can just leave me and go to someone else. Just pick your poison.
This is very offensive because once a disciple takes initiation from a bona fide Uttama Adhikari, if he leaves, then he's going to suffer great reactions. So if Bhakti Vikas is a Uttama Adhikari devotee, why is he saying this nonsense?
I don't know if he's claiming to be Uttama Adhikari, Prabhu, but at the same time, the principle of initiation by unauthorized gurus leads to this kind of deviation.
Yeah, crazy mentality.
Yeah, it's like madness. It's insane. It has no basis in Shastra. And here Prabhupada is proving it by paralleling, our movement is parallel to the way that the GBC are operating and ignoring these instructions and guidance from our guru.
Yeah.
This is very insightful. 3 times a year, the Acharya is being changed, he said. This is proof that they're deviant, the Gaudiya Math. Why would we go to them for advice? Like Jayapataka Swami and Bhavananda in 1978, they went to Sridhar and asked them for advice. How should we operate the movement now that Prabhupada has left A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami? And then he encouraged them. I spoke to Bhagavat Swami recently, who's gone to the camp of the Gaudiya Math. And he said, well, they they asked him, and he told them what to. He agreed with them. Yes, you should just carry on and be the gurus in your own particular situation. They were asking, and he agreed, rather than tell them the facts on how the Gaudiya Math had fallen, and how if they carry on with this, they will also fall, like Bhavananda has fallen. Carrying on with the letter, we'll finish off. Therefore, we may not commit the same mistake in our ISKCON camp. Actually, among my God brothers, no one is qualified to become acharya. So it is better not to mix with my God brothers very intimately, because if instead of inspiring our students and disciples, they may sometimes pollute them. No kidding.
One second, Prabhu. Yeah, I've noticed this, that whenever an ISKCON guru comes, everyone flocks around them, and after some time they lose this enthusiasm and they lose this fire of Krishna consciousness. When they come to the Krishna consciousness movement, they're fired up, and that fire should become bigger and bigger and bigger, not small and small, and it diminishes, to diminish this fire. So it's Prabhupada is saying, instead of inspiring our students and disciples, they may sometimes pollute them, and this pollution, it gets worse once they take initiation from these so-called appointed or elected gurus. I've seen personally. I'm sure you have seen it too.
Carrying on, this attempt was made previously by them, especially Madhav Maharaj and Tirtha Maharaj and Ban Maharaj, but somehow or other I saved the situation. This is going on. Now I have personal association with Ban Maharaj in Toronto and personal instructions on how to deal with him by Srila Prabhupada. And in the same way, Prabhupada told us, do not associate with my God brothers. None of us. It's not a specific statement to one person, but it was an overall statement made to all the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami for these very reasons that he's explaining in this wonderful letter to Rupanuga Prabhu. So Prabhupada, to conclude, this is going on. We shall be very careful about them and not mix with them. I'll repeat that. We shall be very careful about them and not mix with them. This is my instruction to you all. They cannot help us in our movement, but they are very competent to harm our natural progress. So we must be very careful about them.
Jai.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Prabhu.
So this is the point. The movement has already been damaged because of their infiltration into it through our God brothers that went to them and asked them, what should we do? Instead of following this wonderful direction from our Guru Maharaj, they went on their own for whatever reasons. And now the movement has become a sectarian group of guru cults. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for this opportunity to speak. And if I offended anybody, that was not my intention. Our goal was just to review the letter, make comments and clarifications so that other people are aware of what is the reality of our Guru Maharaj's intentions in running his movement after his departure.
Jai. Yes, Srila Prabhupada actually did this. Well, he ran the movement very scientifically and very precisely how he wanted everything done. He appeared not too long ago. Everything is there in his writings, in his conversations, in his letters. So everyone should take the opportunity to get educated and educate others about how he actually wanted the movement to go on, how there should be temples, centers in every town and village. Because his orders were not followed, these things are being checked. So we, as disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we are giving this information out there so people, devotees, can see, okay, all right, this is the real standard. This is how Srila Prabhupada wanted things done. And in this way, they can push on the movement for the next 10,000 years. We're not just looking at the next 10 years, we're looking hundreds and hundreds and years from now. Any closing comments, Prabhu?
Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.